Are you ready to get your health back but feel overwhelmed by the endless healthcare options? We believe God has called each of us to a specific assignment, and we want to make sure your body, mind, and heart are up for the task. It's time to simplify the process of healing. At Cornerstone Integrative Healing, we offer simple, effective, easy ways to prioritize your health and gain understanding. No prescription pad needed. I'm Kari, a pharmacist turned integrative health practitioner. I'm so excited to have these conversations around topics with my friend, Jenn.
Hi there, I'm Jenn, and together with our team at Cornerstone Integrative Healing, we offer an alternative to traditional healthcare, combining our expertise and experience in the medical field with our knowledge and faith to break the cycles of guessing what's wrong. We know the road to healing, feeling good again, can be overwhelming. You can expect honest conversations around the ups and downs of healing. The truth is, there are so many layers to healing. Because we've taken the time to learn where true healing comes from, we've learned how to help other women discover a different way of caring for themselves. Join us every week for new episodes as we discuss topics that are personal and pertinent to your healing journey. Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Jenn and Kari here. Excited to be with you once again. Thanks for listening. Today we wanted to talk a little bit about how the nervous system affects the immune system and what to do about it. We see, I would say the majority of people have some sort of immune and nervous system dysfunction in some way or another. And so this is sort of close to our heart because I feel like for me, this was a huge aspect of healing, was nervous system regulation influencing the immune system. Of course, I did have Lyme, which is huge, but I think for most people, that foundational, healing of nervous system dysfunction is really the key to healing the whole body. It's kind of where the rubber hits the road in the sense that the nervous system interacts and really is kind of the conductor of the orchestra, if you will. And so, it's really important that the nervous system is grounded, centered, supported physically and emotionally, spiritually. And so, we just want to talk about, the role of kind of the autonomic nervous system, that is the parasympathetics versus the sympathetics, how it works, especially when we're in a chronic sympathetic activation, which is the chronic stress response, that fight or flight. Kari, do you want to just maybe break down a little bit sympathetics versus parasympathetics?
So, again, like Jenn said, I feel like so many people we see have some type of immune dysfunction. And what we didn't realize for a while, I guess I'll put myself in this category, is that, sometimes you just really chase what is causing the immune dysfunction with different supplements or different diets or whatever it might be. But whenever God really led me to like the nervous system is what keeps the immune system dysregulated, essentially, I was like, oh, okay, so this is really the key to a lot of different things that we see in practice and with us personally too. And so, we're excited to dive into this topic. So, in the big grand picture, like Jenn said, I mean, your nervous system is very much the conductor of your body as a whole. But specifically, the autonomic nervous system has two branches that are often referred to as like fight or flight or rest and digest, let's say. And that's the parasympathetic state or the sympathetic state. Like, which state is your nervous system in? It can't be in both at one time, right? You're either in one or the other. And
it flips back and forth very often, by the way. So it's not like you're in one or the other. You should flip back and forth seamlessly.
Right. And I mean, this is how your body was designed to work. Like it's there for a reason, yet so many things keep us stuck in that sympathetic dominant action mode ready state of our nervous system when it doesn't need to be, right? We don't have somebody chasing us. We don't have a physical threat that we need to run away from, but yet our body is preparing for that. That's pretty much what happens when we say somebody is stuck or dysregulated, like their nervous system is stuck in this one state too much. It's not in that rest, heal, digest state that we all need. And so it's just a big problem that a lot of people deal with. And so we want to really break down why staying in this chronic activation state can really throw off your immune system and cause long-term immune dysfunction that leads to a lot of things that people deal with all the time, but they don't really understand maybe the bigger picture of what's going on.
Right. We think, oh, we're just so busy. We got to keep up. Meanwhile, we're nursing some chronic inflammation or gut issues or trying to fight something off. And we're wondering why that healing isn't happening. And it's because we're in that constant hurry. We're in that chronic, stress activation. So, and when we are in that state, the body's like, look, nothing else is important except surviving. And in that moment, your body thinks it just needs to survive, even though you're just worried about getting your kid somewhere or, some job responsibilities or some financial responsibilities, right? The brain perceives it as literal survival, life or death. And so again, making a baby, so your hormonal health is not a priority. Digesting, not a priority. It's just getting out of the way of that stressor is the priority.
So you can see, maybe in a big picture way, as we explain that, why we need to really look and see and understand more so what's going on. And then, of course, the key is how do we stay more in that parasympathetic side so we can heal, we can digest properly, our body can repair. None of that happens whenever we are in the more sympathetic fight or flight dominant part of our nervous system. Healing can't happen there. And so if you're only in the parasympathetic side whenever you're maybe sleeping, and some of us aren't even sleeping that good, it's a problem long term. So let's chat about why that. First of all, before we kind of dive into more of like nitty gritty what's going on, what can that lead to over time, Jenn? As far as if
Well,
we stay in that action.
yeah. One is obviously the immune system is weakened. Cortisol, really takes the immune system offline. So like secretory IgA in the gut and mucosal membranes decrease. It causes more inflammation because, obviously we're not able to heal the way. And while cortisol is anti-inflammatory cortisone, I should say, of cortisol is anti-inflammatory in itself, long term, because you're shutting down the repair process, it extends the inflammation process. Because inflammation is a good thing in the sense that it was designed to heal, right? We need that initial inflammation. That's how the body starts the repair process. It's unresolved inflammation. That's the problem. So poor immune surveillance. So basically, the body misses or misfires, doesn't see pathogens, or misfiring in the sense that it causes immune derangement and causes things like autoimmunity. So, we're producing antibodies to thyroid, to, liver, whatever. You name it. We can get reactivation of old infections, not old, but stagnant things. So like Epstein-Barr, Lyme, even COVID, those can be reactivated. And then just slower general healing, right? If you're in that chronic fight or flight, again, your body's not really in the repair process. So we see slower recovery from maybe a cut or just slower, you have a cold or flu that lingers. So yeah. And, it can also show up as like chronic gut issues, right? Like chronic indigestion. You're chronically in a sympathetic state. Your digestion works in a parasympathetic state. And so that's why you're having those chronic digestion issues. Chronic digestion issues leads to histamine issues, leads to food sensitivities, skin issues, joint pain, fatigue. It goes on and on. So really, we're trying to just kind of, bring it in and kind of show you how important that nervous system regulation is just for just general healing and recovery. Kari, do you want to talk a little bit about the vagus nerve?
So if you've, looked much into or know about the nervous system, you've probably heard about the vagus nerve. But the vagus nerve is the longest cranial nerve in the body, and it does play a huge role between your nervous system and a lot of systems in your body, of course, including your immune system. And it's sort of like if the nervous system is the command center, this is like a communication highway, if you will, running from your brainstem all the way down your chest and abdomen, and really touching key organs that are included in, of course, this immune function, amongst other things. And so, if you think about just that in response to like how it affects your immune system, it has a huge role. So, I kind of wanted to break it down into a couple of different ways that it affects your immune system. It definitely affects gut healing, and thus your response to immune type issues that come up. Um, Again, your vagus nerve helps you to regulate digestion, gut motility, um, you know, all the different processes relating to digestion. And so, whenever you have something called poor vagal tone, your vagus nerve really isn't doing its job that we want it to. These things can be affected, right? Your digestion's affected, your gut motility, the way your gut heals, which all affect your immune system. And so I mentioned the word vagal tone. Sometimes that's a little bit like, what is that? So your vagal tone just refers to how well your vagus nerve is functioning. Meaning when your vagal tone is strong, then you can easily shift from that sympathetic dominant side of your nervous system to that parasympathetic side, into that state of rest and digest. When your vagal tone is poor, you can't really shift very easily. You're more so stuck, and your body really, it's harder for it to shift out if you've been in that state for longer. So your vagal tone will be poor. So if you've ever heard that term, that's really kind of what it means, right? You want your vagus nerve to be able to react quicker and to get you into that parasympathetic side of your system more. Jen, do you want to talk about like autoimmune? Oh, sorry, autoinflammatory.
Yeah.
Yeah, inflammatory. I can't see.
Yeah. That wasn't a coincidence. So the vagus nerve will also directly influence inflammation through something called the cholinergic anti-inflammatory pathway. And so basically the cholinergic anti-inflammatory pathway is a system that sort of down regulates, that inflammatory response. So inflammation is, as I mentioned, how the body fights infection or injury. So the nervous system is really what is helps regulate or calm down this response. So one of the key players in that is the vagus nerve, which sends the signal to the immune system via something called acetylcholine. So the nerve uses a chemical messenger, acetylcholine, which is part of this cholinergic system, to basically, and the chemical messenger acetylcholine basically says, hey, slow down the release of these inflammatory substances, right? So there's not so much inflammation. But of course, you need strong vagal, tone to do this. And you need the precursors. You need choline to make acetylcholine. So lots of things have to be working correctly in order for that cholinergic anti-inflammatory pathway to sort of, work the way that it should. So when it's activated, the vagus nerve tells the body, calm down the overactivation of the immune system and all this rampant inflammation, basically.
Yeah.
So this is really key for things like autoimmune, long haul, you name it. That includes Lyme, COVID, even allergies, where the immune system really needs to be modulated and not stimulated, right? So although the innate system, and I know I've talked about this before, but for those that haven't heard, right, there's the innate system, which is the initial response, and then there's the adaptive system, and it's a teeter-totter, right? And so usually in the autoimmune, long haul allergy cases, that adaptive teeter-totter side is really working extra hard, which is, that's why there's so much histamine inflammation. And so we really need to support that innate side or strengthen the immune system. But again, it's a modulation, right? It's a balance with that teeter-totter. So again, that sort of helps explain how important the nervous system is to really help you heal any sort of immune-based, inflammatory side.
Yeah. What it makes me think of too is like sometimes in the holistic space, we can get really caught up with like chasing infections and then chasing different things, which, I mean, again, yes, there are things that need to be addressed. However, if you don't really address why they continue to happen, then you're not really getting to the root of the issue. And that's where a lot of people say, um, it's not like you shouldn't ever need to detox. That's not a true statement. However, you shouldn't always need to detox. If you're always feeling like you're having a detox, then you're not really addressing the reason why your immune system continues to stay, where it can't do its job, right? We always want to say, like, why is the body not able to do what it was supposed to do? Because if all systems are a go, then our body should be able to deal with the things that we come in contact with. So hopefully that makes sense, like in more of a bigger picture way, because I know that's a huge thing. Like, even when we come in contact with like mold and parasites and like all the things that are just in our environment, like why do some people not, why do they not affect some people as much as they affect other people? This is a huge reason for that. Amongst there are other things, of course, but yeah. So this is a huge way that we can not only we're focusing on immune health today, but goodness, what else could we put in this category? Hormones for sure.
No doubt.
Any type of digestion. We already talked about how this is linked to digestion. Thyroid health, like you can really put anything in this category, and you can see how the nervous system affects your entire body and the way that it processes and communicates with each other. So, before we kind of leave you with like, okay, what can you do to help with this? I just wanted to briefly mention there is a liver and spleen connection. And obviously, the liver is a major detox and immune related organ that is often super overloaded in women and just under stress. Of course, it has really key jobs. I mean, it filters out and processes toxins and helps to process immune signals and filters blood and all those things. And so the vagus nerve is key in getting information to these organs and affecting how well they can do their job. Because again, I think sometimes we just want to pound the liver with like all these supports, but then we have to ask, well, why is it stressed in the first place? And just it needs to be a well-balanced approach when we think about how to support our organs and our body systems rather than just throwing supplements or doing a detox or, it has to be an all-encompassing approach because you have to both address the issue that's at hand and also fix the root issue of why it's there in the first place, which is, I think, a key part that is missed a lot.
Yep, for sure. So what can you do about it? Right?
What's that?
What's that?
I'm glad you asked.
So I think starting with the physical is probably a really good, just simple, easy for people. And that is, nutrition for the nervous and the immune system, which is keep your blood sugar balanced. Don't skip breakfast. Don't skip meals. Protein, fat, complex carbs at every meal. Or
Hill down. People, what's that? I said that is the hill we will down if you haven't. It's a through line of a lot of our podcast episodes. Your blood sugar is really important. So don't be drinking coffee on an empty stomach. Don't be skipping breakfast. Yeah, it is. We keep saying these things because they're just that important.
Right. And sometimes it's the simple things that people skip over. Obviously, minerals. This is incredibly important because the nervous system really functions with minerals. So magnesium, sodium, potassium. We talk about Relight a lot. It's a good first starting point. Just putting some electrolytes in your water, salting your foods, eating some nice fruit for potassium. And everybody thinks they need magnesium, which they do, but you make sure you're getting sodium and potassium first.
On that hill, we're going to have Relight with us. Snacks, okay?
Yes, we are.
Right?
Go ahead, Kari. You want to continue? I was just going to say, just make sure you're getting enough protein and fat and carbs. I think a lot of people restrict one of those food groups sometimes in order to support gut and hormonal health and the stress response. You need all of them, really. And if you need help, with that, reach out to us, please. We'd love to help you. And then just reducing simple inflammatory foods. So gluten, seed oils, excess caffeine. That's physically, if you can just start there, that's a really, really good starting point.
Yeah. And I mean, I get, Jen mentioned like these are easy places to start, but really, if you don't have the physical supported, it's just sometimes you just can't, like your body can't, it's not, it still feels unsafe, right? Your nervous system still feels like I'm not getting what I need. And so you have, these are like number one, you got to start with these, honestly, I think, before you can really move on to a lot more. Obviously, you can do some of these other things that we're going to mention, but if those bases aren't there, those are like the building blocks that other things build on. So, yeah, they're
It's
just
like
really,
the hierarchy of needs, right? Like your physical needs are, yeah.
that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so what are some other things that you can do to support your nervous system? Definitely breathing is a huge one. That's probably one of the fastest ways to shift your nervous system because whenever we're in more of that sympathetic dominant state, we're taking short, shallow breaths in our chest. And so just to shift our breathing to longer belly breaths, that's a huge way that you can easily, whatever you're doing, like anytime I'm feeling kind of stressed, I know the symptoms, or well, symptoms, I should say, signs that I'm just, I'm feeling stressed. I always just check in with my breath and try to do a few deep breaths. And it really does make a big difference. Adding oils to that can really help that to take more of an effect and last a little bit longer as well. You can do somatic exercises like the butterfly hug. That really, just trying to, if you're watching the video, it's basically just tapping your chest, alternating with your hands. You can do like shaking. You can just shake your hands because if you think about it, whenever our sympathetic nervous system is activated, our body is getting ready to move. It's getting ready to run away. And so to get out some of that excess energy, sometimes literally just shaking your hands can be a way to release that. Um, Obviously, with us being just Jesus focused, right? I mean, prayer and just meditating on what's true whenever we're having a lot of maybe negative thoughts or we're just stressed and we're worrying about something, just bringing your thoughts back to truth and just saying a prayer or spending some time with the Lord is absolutely huge when you think about shifting, your state. Cold exposure can be good if you're very dysregulated. I would not start there, or I would start really small because sometimes it can make you even more dysregulated. But that can be a good place and a way to stimulate your vagus nerve. Boundaries with screen time, that's big. We're on our phones all the time. So just setting boundaries with that. I find in the morning and in the evening, I try to set, better boundaries as far as just not immediately getting on my phone when I wake up and then trying to put it on the charger or in another room, a good hour and a half before I go to bed. Gentle movement, like walking, is really, really good to help shift your state as well. And then obviously we know rest is important. Yes, rest at night, trying to get deeper sleep at night, but also just maybe taking like 10 to 15 minutes if you can in midday to really just rest your body, rest your mind, or, that might just be taking a walk or going outside, putting your feet in the grass. Could be a lot of things, but just focusing more on rest.
Yes, for sure.
What about some more natural supports? Do you have anything else you want to?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is, this is where my heart is because I spent so much time. But there are things that you've heard of called adaptogens, or nervines, which really help the body to support the body, biochemically. So things like ashwagandha, Eleuthero, that's one of my absolute favorite. Ashwagandha is probably more of what you have heard of. So those are literally, they helped you adapt to the nervous energy, right? So when you're in a stress response, there's quote unquote savings nervous energy support in the savings bank to use under a stress response, right? So ashwagandha, eleuthero, rhodiola, Korean ginseng, American ginseng, those are all, adaptogenic. Even echinacea, true echinacea, is adaptogenic. And then nervines. So nervines are things that directly support the nervous system. One of the main ones we know of, because it works so well and has been clinically trialed, is St. John's wort, right? St. John's wort is amazing nervine, but B vitamins, super important for nervous system support. Lemon balm, safflower, saffron, hugely important. Spiny jujube, which is probably not one you've heard of often. Passion flower. These are all incredible nervines that really support the body, just that nervous system response. Now, I would put minerals in that nervine category. They are probably the number one nervine, are minerals. And then nutrients, obviously, too, which I mentioned, B vitamins. But these, when you are, listen, we all have periods in our life when we're going through a lot of stress. There's a death, there's a divorce, you've had an accident, something, and we need that extra support. And that's really where these, or maybe you're just a busy mom, right? You're not sleeping, you have little kids, and you could use an adaptogen and a nervine. These are, great supports along with, the physical and the emotional things that Kari talked about. And then, Kari, do you want to talk about oils? I mean, I think these are probably considered nervines, although they work on many more aspects.
Yeah, and I was going to say, we'll definitely put all of the things that Jenn mentioned in a link. You can get most of those on Fullscript, so we'll definitely put that in a link in the show notes. But yeah, essential oils, I mean, they just kind of accentuate all these other things that you're doing. And so I like to add them in throughout my day to just really help my body to shift over. And especially using a pure oil aromatically can really help your body to realize, okay, I need to shift. Like it affects your limbic system in a way that basically just helps it to better recognize how to shift. So it helps with vagal tone, and it also helps with just more the brain points as well. Really shifting over from, okay, and recognizing safety more. I guess that would be a better way to put it. So some that I use often, I love Peace, the Land Peace Adaptive. I use frankincense. Usually every morning I do a drop under my tongue. Copaiba is another one that I use a lot. And then wild orange has definitely been studied a lot in this space as well. And yeah, there's so many things we could put here, but I think we've given you enough, right? Yeah. So let us know, though. We would love to know what your thoughts are about what we've suggested here. If you have any questions, we're always willing to answer those.
Well, yeah, and if your immune system does feel off, more supplements might not be the answer. It might be, that nervous system piece. It just needs the permission to come out of survival mode. And you can do that with some of the tools that we talk about. You're not broken. You're just dysregulated. So we really want to support you. Sorry, Kari.
No, you're good. You're good. I just also wanted to let you know, if we harped on blood sugar again. So we do have a free PDF that you can download for some helpful tips with that we'll include in the show notes that you can check out. And if we can help at all, if you have, if you really just want to see if we can help you you've dealt with this for a while and what our thoughts are, we'd love to hear your story. You can book a free call with us, and we'll put that link in the show notes for you as well. Thanks for joining. We'll see you guys in the next episode.
If this episode has served you in any way, drop a review wherever you listen to podcasts. We'd love it if you'd share any aha moments or takeaways on Instagram and tag us at Cornerstone Integrative Healing.
And if you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do so. We want to continue to walk this journey with you. Until next time, friends, know that we're praying for you.